They are rage, brutal, without mercy. But you will be worse. Rip and tear, until it is done.
We have to contain this.
Cannot determine the cause of the demonic invasion until the Resop satellite is brought back online.
Welcome. I'm Dr. Samuel Hayden. I'm the head of this facility. I think we can work together and resolve this problem in a way that benefits us both.
Demonic presence at unsafe levels. Lockdown in effect. 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 Demonic presence eliminated. Lockdown disengaged.
He cannot be allowed to leave this place. He would ruin everything.
to take full responsibility for the horrible events of the last 24 hours, but you must understand. Our interest in their world was purely for the betterment of mankind. Everything has clearly gotten out of hand now, yes. But it was worth the risk, I assure you.
Alright, so this is my Doom 2016 playthrough. Freaking awesome, man. Freaking awesome. Great intro. So far, I'm evaluating this game. It's not like I didn't do it before way back in the past, but I've never did it before on a video. And this is mostly for people who are in my clan who've never played Doom before, or have heard of it but have never decided to pick it up. And also for myself and for anyone who's never played it before. So the typical way you go about these things are, if it's a story-based game, you based it on purely on the story and everything else in between. If it's based purely on action, you base it on action first and everything else in between. If it's a split between both, then you base it on a split between both and then everything else in between. But if it's mainly going in one direction with some additives, you follow that direction and then everything else in between. Doom follows a specific formula. It's a first-person shooter with some story added. The story is not the main selling point. The story is just an addition towards applying some sort of resolution or relevance and additional reservations towards getting from one point to a next point to the next point to the end point, rather than just being a constant grind from level to level to level to make it feel like a sandbox. There's an overarching plan and solution, a beginning, a middle, and an ending. So with that in place, you then have the gameplay, then you have the lore added with the story. So it's a story-based game, but it's also an action-based game. The previous Dooms had story, but it was not mainly story central. Just like this, just like any Doom, is never going to be mainly story central. The story is just an additional formula applied to what the FPS is, which is to destroy things and complete the objective at the end. So it's following a path. You could say a linear path from one point to the next point to the next point, even though those paths are curved all over the place. It's following that linear path with relations to the story. Because if it didn't have a story, there wouldn't be a path for it to follow. It would go all over the place and it will feel disjointed or unconnected, as in you're putting together a jigsaw from a jigsaw puzzle and you're trying to find a path to get towards the end, but you're pretty much slotting things in as you go, and then boom, you get the end result. So it's not that. It's basically, this is how you do it. This is where you have to go first. And then you could jigsaw everything for this section. And then you get the next section, and you could jigsaw however you want to put it for the next section, which is you could start at the end point the beginning point, the middle point, but he has to go from section to section to section. As in any campaign, there's a story. Stories follow set paths. All stories follow set paths. Whether the story starts at the end, whether the story starts at the beginning, whether the story starts at the middle, they all have a starting point regardless, and they all have a middle point and an ending point. So sometimes the starting point is at the middle of a movie, sometimes the starting point is at the end of the movie, and then they follow a formula going backwards to the beginning, but they all have starting point and an end point. The end goal is to person or persons to have a resolution with regards to what has happened throughout the story. And some stories, the resolution is not to have a resolution. It's just to show that the person can not inevitably solve the situation. But the solution was there. They did solve a solution. And the solution is them coming to realize that they couldn't solve it during the whole process of the film or of the video game or wherever. For them to realize that they cannot solve something, and that was the solution in the story. It's not to solve the problem in the story. It's for the person to know that they cannot solve the problem in the story. That's the story. It's the journey of the character. Like if you're doing a character journey, that's what's going on. If you're doing a story journey, then you have to solve the problem in the story, because it's not about the person coming to realization. It's about the audience understanding the story, general story, not the characters. So that's where Doom follows this linear path, but at the same time, you could choose where you want to go during this linear path. Like a lot of people say, they don't like to play linear games. They like to, fight a boss whenever they want, wherever they want. A boss that come like in the middle of the game and they fight the boss early and stuff. Like this isn't Dark Souls, It this game is very much linear. But in many situations, linear is very good, whereas non-linear is not so very good. Because if the Doomslayer was to fight the boss at the middle of the game, rather than the bosses prior to getting to the middle of the game, he rushed right towards the middle of the game, he would die easy. Because the game does not, even if the game credited you a certain amount of Praetor points, he would not have enough Praetor points in order to beat said boss at the middle of the game, no matter how hard or how much he fight, because the design of the mechanics of the game is not based on elemental usage or elemental adaptation or dodging or ducking and weaving or time wasting or time earning. It's not based on those things. It's based on you take a certain amount of damage, eventually you die. You can't run away from the boss, wait for the boss to calm down. When you're out of his range, his life is down to a certain level, then run back into the mission. In more linear games, the moment you exit the fight, the boss's life bar goes all the way back up again. So it's pointless to fight a boss in a non-linear game. Fight a boss in the linear game, because the health bar of the enemy will reset. Or if you start it all over, or you exit a certain area, the health bar is reset, and now you have to go through the whole process again. So you can never really beat the boss. Or in most linear games, you're allowed to enter the boss fight, and you cannot exit the boss fight until you beat the boss. So it doesn't apply. That's the difference, one of the main difference between linear and non-linear games. So if Doom does follow a non-linear path, it would have to be set that way, specifically. And it's never been set that way since the very first Doom game. It's been meant to, you have to beat this boss at this location, regardless of what your armor, what your health is, and how much ammo you have the moment you enter the boss fight, period. If you didn't level up, if you didn't earn enough points, then you're going to always die. So you have to become stronger. That's the difference between linear and non-linear games. So when people say, well, this game is better than this game, or this game, I like this game. Like, listen, if all games were non-linear whatsoever at all, then the difficulty with regards to those games will always be unenjoyable or out of whack, because you're unable to fully enjoy the experience because you're simply following a different type of formula. And the type of formula is an obvious and more easier one in some cases. Whereas you get enter the boss fight, knock the boss health down to 0.5%, you almost die, exit the boss fight, look through your inventory, wait for your health to go up, think about what you have to do, enter the boss fight, the boss health is still at a certain percentage, and it doesn't go back up again. Or restart the boss fight with going through your inventory, what you have, rethink about it, fight him, and then grind through it and dodge and weave, with the game leaving opening based on the design of the fight for you to win. And it's the same thing in any game. But the difference between the non-linear and linear is that the linear allows you to get the opportunity to become stronger before you enter the fight. But you cannot exit the fight once you enter, so you must become strong. Whereas the non-linear, you don't have to be strong prior. You could simply do it until you defeat the boss. So you could choose to become stronger, or you could choose to think of different methods in order to beat it. In that case, it's a little bit harder, but at the same time, it's also a little bit easier because the boss health would never go back up as long as you're in range within the boss. You just have to think of a strategy before you do it. Exit to a certain level, hide out behind a rock or something, and then wait, go through your inventory, and then expend all your resources. Boom, the boss goes down, or the mini boss goes down, like you do in Dark Souls. Whereas in Doom, or other games like it, you must become strong, and you must have the right amount of stuff, and you must do what needs to be done before you do it, otherwise you'll always die. Or you must become strong enough and be able to dodge fast enough and bob and weave clear enough without even becoming strong based on purely on skills. So in those cases, they're dissimilar. So I never really listen to people that says, a Dark Souls game is harder than a Doom game, because that's not true. Because you can beat stronger bosses purely on skill alone without expending a vast amount of resources. I mean, expending a vast amount of health or a vast amount of ammunition, as long as you understand what works against the boss, and as long as you understand how to bob and weave accurately or use the environment to your advantage. The game always give you ammo, the game always give you health, and if you know how to aim at their weak spot, and how much ammo is required to fire, how much dodging and skills or jumping is required, you don't have to worry about waiting for the boss health to go low to a certain point, hide behind a wall, and keep doing it. Nor do you have to exit out the mission, get stronger, and come back in. You could still be in the mission, be weak, but you just have to know how to be more skilled. So they're pretty much the same when it comes to fighting. So when people talk about linear versus non-linear, Doom fights are linear, but they really are not. They're kind of the same. One just doesn't allow you to fully exit the mission and go through your inventory. The other allows you to fully exit and go through your inventory. Both very different, but kind of the same. One allows you to knock the boss health down or mini boss health down to a certain percentage, while still locking you into the area, and the other one does not, and is more merciless. Like if you fight a Doom boss, it's more merciless that you have to be strong, whether you go through your inventory or not, or hide behind walls or not. So there's a balance with regards to those two things. So when people say, well, this game is more brutal because it is, my counter will always be, well, the game is A From Software game is more friendly in you for that sense because you can always hide behind a wall or something while the boss health is down to a low, or go through certain things, or use certain mechanics or environmental locations to your advantage. Or in the Doom game, you're either strong in the battle and using skills and experience, otherwise your ass is dead, or you're not and your ass is completely dead. So there's there's both up and downs for both. One is never stronger or better than the other. Both are extremely brutal. The only difference between this and a From Software game is that its story path is linear, and the deviation with regards to who you fight and who you don't fight is linear, whereas in From Software it's non-linear. That's about the only difference. The only difference. The brutalness, the hardness, the toughness, they're equally on the same par, and in some sense more brutal in Doom cases, especially in Doom cases, because you're not allowed once you get into a boss fight or mini boss fight in order to hide behind walls or many other things. It's not that friendly in a fight situation, unlike From Software games. The enemy will know where you are, and the enemy will go at the most minute corners in order to kill you. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's more things that are they're both different on, and more friendly on, and more easier on both cases, but one is never really stronger than the other. I know a lot of people who will beat From Software games easy, but have an extremely hard time beating Doom because they are not used to first person shooters, or they don't understand why it's not operating the way a From Software game is operating. Because no duh, it's not designed for you to hide behind a wall or think about what you're doing in the middle of a fight. You either got what you have now, and you could think as you're fighting the enemy, you going through your inventory, but you can't wait and expect the enemy is going to wait for you. The enemy is not going to wait for you, or you can't use the environment to your advantage in order to kill the enemy. It's not that friendly. You know, you can't. An enemy in Doom isn't going to fall off the edge of a building to their death, and boom, you win the match. It doesn't work that way. That's the difference. So, from that sense, I would give Doom from base 5, um, not a full 6, but from that point alone for having that advantage over nonlinear games, a point for that. So I'm at a 5.1. As an introduction, I give it another point. That's a 5.2. And as an inventory system, or should I say, going through the different settings and the different outlooks and the different rollovers and the different design uh, of each bullet points, or not really bullet points, but endpoints and rollovers, I would give it another point for that. I should just give it a point for the appeal and look of the actual text and how they're set, which I am going to do, and for the rollovers and the design of the rollovers and where there's how they interact with each other and how they're set. I give it another point for that. So now I'm at a 5.4. But I'll also give it another point for simply the music, which is 5.5. So as far as I'm looking with regards to the game, it's at a 5.5 now. And obviously I'm going to give it a point for the tutorial. The tutorial is simple. The tutorial is self-explanatory. The tutorial is detailed. There's a lot of text, which is could be kind of a turn off for others, but let's say for the example that the person is not a person that could hear that well, so text is good for a person who can't hear. And of course, the game is designed for people who can hear, so you can always turn up the volume, and you can see both the text and hear the volume at the same time. So I'm glad that the controllers with regards to not inventory but options is good. So I'm gonna give it another point for that. So I'm at a 5.7. And of course, datas, weapons, and various different things that and artifacts are going to pop up in the mission and objectives and challenges. Those things are going to come later on with regards to the codex and with regards to missions and collectibles. I'll give it a point for those when those things pop up. And for right now, I'm going to give it yet another point, which is 5.8, because the map is extremely good. Unlike Resident Evil 4 Remake, it maps just allows you to zoom in and zoom out. This map allows you to go both up, down, all around, zoom in, zoom out. So you could see exactly where your character is, where your character is going. Based on the terrain and topography, you could go in and out, up and down, and say if your character is trying to go left and right, you could know exactly where your character is and where your character needs to go. So with regards to using a map and traversing on the map alone by itself, is probably one of the best map designs in the game with regards to seeing and using a map and traveling on a map and moving a map around. It's probably the most friendly, user-friendly map that I've seen based on the many games I've played in the past. So I would say it's not the best, but it comes in damn well in the second place because the best traversing of a map within the game of any game. So I give it another point for that. In fact, I'm going to give it another point, an additional point for the map alone, because I've played many games and not many games allow you to zoom out, zoom in, turn around, go up and down and all around the character to see where you are in locations, where buildings are, and everything, starting point, end point, and levels as well. I'm pretty sure the map is going to get far more detail than this, but if it doesn't, I'm not just going to give it a point for the good map. I'm giving it a point for good traversal with regards to the map itself. So I'm now at 5.9. So I could basically say, based on the entertainment of the fight, I could clock it up to about a 6, where right now, straight up right now, I'm clocking this up to about a full 6, simply for the fight enjoyment and the fight itself. I could simply go into details with regards to the design of the Doom's armor, design of weapons, the lighting and all that stuff, and I'll do that right now as well. So I'm at a 6 right now. Now with regards to lighting, 6.1. With regards to the design of the weapons, with regards to how they look, how they feel, how they operate, 6.2. With regards to the environment, how the environment looks, rendering, 6.3. With regards to how they are scaled and stack on top of each other, 6.4. With regards to movement, 6.5. Does the movement feel stiff? Does the movement feel smooth? Do I need to initiate running or not running? It moves easy. Switching weapons, also easy. 6.8, 6.9. Other than switching weapons, weapon wheel is fluid. You can always double tap as well. So that's the 6.8, 6.9, and I could clock it up to about a 7 right now. There are other minute things that are added in there. That's why I went all the way to 6.8, 6.9 with regards to environment, with regards to lighting, with regards to, I already know what those things are, so I gave it additional points with regards to all those things. That's why I'm at 6.8, 6.9 right now. So where I'm standing at the game right now, since I'm jumping ahead just a little with points, I'm at a 7. Also including in the hub, you can include the showing of the weapons in the hub, health in the hub, and location with regards to navigation and compass and objectives. It's already showing left, right, where you have to go. So I'm at a full 7 right now with regards to the game. Just starting the game, already looking good. Just starting the game, already could change up the options. Just started the game and everything is working fine. Audio works good, could change that up. Video works good, could remove blur, could add anything, could increase field of view. I should give it another point for field of view as well, because that's highly essential. Like my field of view is at 100 right now, which is good, but if I want, I could make it even further for that, because field of view is very important when it comes to games. It's super important, especially if the enemies are coming at you from the side, left, right, or side. So I'm now at 110. I'm gonna save it at 110. This is the field of view, 110. So I can see this far. Do I need to see this far based on field of view? But let me look at it. Okay, I'm standing right here I see the far left, the far right, both rock formations, both contour rock formations. I'll see based on field of view how wide and how far, based on range and distance, I'll be able to look down. Based on here all the way to the door, or to here, and both left and right. So I'll see how that goes right now, if it's good or if it's average. So I'll clock it down to like 90, 91. Amazing. That is amazing. It literally made this bigger and made these things closer. So it decreased the distance of how far that was from there to there. And both of these look about the same with regards to distance, but it just basically pull the back area to the forward area rather than extending it going even further back. But it seems like the left and right are pretty much the same. So what I'll do is for the far left, where there's that little cleft in between the contours, I'll see based on, let me just see, field of view. Boom. Okay, so range, where it was clocked in close here, right about here, between that cleft. It's now further back here. So the distance have been increased just a tad. Would I say it's wider, or it's just okay? So the distance is wider, but is the distance for the overall regards to the left and right, is it wider, or is just the distance between the back and the forward is wider? So let me do this. Let me look at it. I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the distance. And then I'll go from here to over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, 5 and 8. Let's try that again. All the way from back here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, close to the edge will be 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, 9, that's 9. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. About 14, 13 or 14. So that's 13 or 14, and this is 9. 9 or 10. So let's say it's 10 and this is 14. Okay, so it's 14 based on its field of view. It's 14 in width, and it's 13 in, or 10 in length and 14 in width. 10 in length and 14 in width. This is very important. 10 in length and 14 in width. This is all related to enemies. Okay, right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so it's 11. Let's try it again, making sure we do it right. Furthest back here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it's 11. It went from 14 to 11. And let's see how it is all the way back here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this would be 10. Strange. Let me try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Really? So the length is still 10, but the width is now 11. So the width increased 3 times, but the length is still the same. It's very odd because this looks far closer than it was before. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and about 10. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and about 11. Yeah, about 11. Let's try this again now with the going all the way up. Let's see if it's still 10 and 11, because then that means the width is much further. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, and then here will be 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it only goes up about 1 more space with regards to length, but 3 more spaces with regards to width. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 13, so 11, 12, 13. So two spaces in width, 2 or 3 spaces in width with regards to 110 from 90 to 110, and about 2 or 3 spaces or less with regards to 90. So the length only goes up to about 1 space more from 90 to about 110, and about 2 spaces more with regards to width. Anywhere from 2 to 3 spaces with regards to width, and about 1.5 spaces more with regards to length. About the most I could give it. Let's say 2 spaces more with regards to length. With regards to length, and 3 spaces more with regards to length at most, or 2 spaces with regards to width and 1 spaces with regard to length. So if an enemy was to attack me and I was standing right here, I would be able to see the enemy 2 spaces less. So I wouldn't be able to see them coming from left and right, 2 spaces less. But with this added, and at least 1.5 or about 1 space more in distance, yeah, so the field of view is much better. Is it to see them closer? Obviously, if the enemy is, based on its range, is all the way over there, they can attack you based on range. Whereas if you close it in, you'd be able to shoot them much easier by closing in the field of view. But at the same time, it closes in the width. So if my enemy is coming from left and right, it's a bad thing. So both pros and cons, I guess. So what I'll do is I'm just going to decrease it from 110 to about to the 100. No, 1, 2, 3. That's it. So there, the three plays. I'm not sure if that'll work 100%, but I'll see if it'll work. I'll keep it at 107 and see what it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, perfect. And then range 1, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So 12. That should do it. This should be the perfect. Whereas the close in the range, so the enemy, I could see the enemy better, but at the same time keeping distance. That's around the same of close to 11, but it's still 12. Nope, I have to get it around 11. It has to be around 11. But it still has to be greater than 90. Like adding 10 points towards 100 will clock it in close to about 90. But it needs to be above 100. I want to get it close to that 11 range with regards to 90, but at least one more place above it. I think 105 would do it. Okay, let's try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yep, perfect. So when you if I put it at 90, would it still be 11? Because if I put it in 90 and it's still at 11, then that means it can't be at 105. It has to be at 106. Just to be slightly above it. At least one paces above it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9, 10. Okay, try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, so 106, I think 106 was better. So 90 and 100 are pretty much the same. So 90 and 100 are pretty much almost the same. So to get the proper range, so 90 and 100 aren't exactly, see, 90 and 100 is not exactly the same as 90. It's off by probably about 5 points, 5 or 10 clicks, but they're still based on range. the enemy could still close in based on those things pretty quickly. So I believe 106 might be the proper one. 106, 107. Yeah. Okay, so 106, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, 106 is perfect. 106 is perfect. So, because, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, 11 there and 11 in width. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. About 11. 11 in length and 11. Good. This is where I'm going to keep it. So I have good distance, good range, good field of view for both the length and the width. So 106 works. So I'll keep it quiet. So I'll give it a point for that. For the simple fact that I wasted time just trying to get things accurately. That's superb. So yeah, I'm now at 7.2 with regards to the game. So I'll just keep going and shut up. 7.3, no fall damage. 7.3, no fall damage. Does that make it kind of weak? Sure, it makes it kind of weak that he doesn't have any fall damage, but he's wearing a suit that doesn't allow you to have fall damage. So it's not like this guy is a weakling. He was strong from the get-go, you know, because he's not completely human. So he's not gonna be damaged by something like falling, you know. Like if he was falling from the Eiffel Tower or something and then landing on the floor, obviously he's gonna take damage. But if he jumped from off there down to here, him being like the massive steroid testosterone type, he ain't gonna feel that shit. And plus he's wearing a suit to absorb impact damage, so he's definitely not gonna feel that. He's gonna feel damage from a zombie blasting like energy balls at him. That could pretty much when one of these monsters, demons, throw an energy ball at him, it's like throwing a grenade or shooting a shotgun at him. So you take more damage from a goddamn shotgun than you would do from jumping off a building or off a short hill on a building, obviously. Especially if you're wearing like padding or something to absorb the damage. But like I said, this guy is not exactly normal, so it doesn't even matter. Like in From Software games, you're just playing regular dudes. There's nothing strong or special about them until they decide to level up. This guy was strong from the jump. Maybe not in Doom 1, but after Doom 1 he was no longer normal. Or should I say at the end of Doom 1 he was no longer normal. Now, one of the reasons why I keep this on Hurt Me Plenty rather than the the third to hardest mode, because I believe Hurt Me Plenty is normal, and the next hardest mode is, kind of like very hard. Or, well, actually, I don't think Doom has a normal mode. Doom mode has always been hard. Like the Hurt Me Plenty is basically hard. But if it Hurt Me Plenty is actually normal, then the next level is very hard. And of course, there's Nightmare, and then there's Beyond Nightmare. Those are also, the Dante Must Die mode. So yeah, I'm keeping this at normal or Hurt Me Plenty simply because I'm evaluating the game. I'm not trying to kick its ass or to prove a point. I believe I can, however, increase it to a more difficult rating when I'm fighting boss. So prior to a boss fight, if I really want to take a challenge with a boss fight, I'm going to increase it to a higher difficulty. However, if the game doesn't allow me to do so, then I have to play the entire game from whatever mode is on. So hopefully I'll be able to do that. If not, it's fine. This is not about any of those things. This is simply about me evaluating the game as a total, as a FPS game. So, I really don't compare games like this to the stuff like story-based games or non-linear games like From Software games, because this is not in the same field. It's horror, but it's not in the same field. This is first-person shooter. So I only compare this to first-person shooter. The only time I compare it to games like Horizon Zero Dawn or From Software games or Spider-Man or say something that's very different like a Dark Pictures anthology is when it has to do with something that's very similar to those games. An aspect in the game that's similar to those games. Just those things. Or if the story, like say a Pac-Man story or a Resident Evil story or an Evil Within story or an aspect of the game is similar to those games, then I'll point those things out. But if it's not, I'm just going to compare the majority of it to first-person shooter games, which is the way it's supposed to be compared to, like Call of Duty. Is this better than Call of Duty when it comes to first-person shooting? Obviously it is. Is it better than Call of Duty when it comes to different weapon customization and swapping? It's not really. How the speed and accuracy and the control of the swapping and the many things you could do with it, and different upgrades and upgrade types. Yes, it's better than Call of Duty in that regards. With regards to selection weapon types and the inventory types, no, it's not better than Call of Duty when it regards to a massive amount of different weapons, different upgrades towards weapons. But how to customize the weapons with a vast amount of weapons you're given, which are limited to a certain amount. How you customize it is a different story. So in that regards, it's better than Call of Duty in the FPS arena. In fact, it's always been better than Call of Duty when it comes to customization of the weapons. Maybe not the more current Call of Duty games, because Doom has been 2016 and Eternal has been out for a while, and they're always bringing out new forms of customization to weapons with regards to Warzone and stuff. But yeah, when this originally came out in 2016, hell yeah, it was better than anything with regards to Call of Duty customization. So with that regards to when this came out during that year and the following year, yes, it's a better FPS when it comes to customizing the weapons and swapping while in combat. So yeah, I'll give it a point for that, for customization of weapons and weapon swapping. Well, weapon swapping is a different thing, but they both work in conjunction to each other. So there are different points in how fast you can switch out. So I guess I'll keep it at 7.3. Maybe when the customization becomes a thing that I'm going to be able to do, I know it exists, I want to see how much of it I'm going to be able to do. So my jock it up to about 7.4. Okay, so that's interesting. Apparently, when you pick up an item or you have access to a door or something, it changed to a color that describes what it is. So when you open the door change blue, and when you pick up a collectible, it change to the color that you to indicate that you pick it up. Not exactly sure if that's the smartest way to go about anything with regards to picking up items. Typically, when something has a color and you pick it up, it turns gray or it turns into white, which makes more sense to tell you that you've been there because they're all the same color to indicate that you've accessed these things because they all represent the same color. But apparently in this game, when you access something or you pick up something, it changed into the color for which to tell you that you've picked it up or you've accessed it. So when a door turns blue, it means you've accessed the door. Or when you pick up a collectible, it means, and it turns orange, it means you've picked up the collectible. Not really the smartest way to go with regards to picking up things, but then again, this is the change from how it used to be in the past to how it is now. So at least now you know when something is a specific color rather than it being the reverse, which is white, means you haven't touched it or accessed it yet. That's when it's been picked up. So if you're going to play this game and you're interested in this game, that should at least should be something that you should know. It being in color does not mean that you did not pick it up. It being a color or turning into a color means that you've picked it up or you've accessed it. So that's something that's helpful for me to know as well as for anyone else to know if they're interested. Because there was someone will look at, like, if they look at this gameplay as well, you didn't pick it up, like, no, it changing to a color means you've accessed it and picked it up. Here's a good example. Here's another good example. This represents an armor, I believe, based on the dossier, and also based on the hub indication of text for collectibles, for data such as echoes and health supplies, blah blah blah, armor. This should be under armor. So this indicates, this white thing indicates that you have not picked it up. So it's a little different from older games, but this is how they're doing it, or how they've continued to do it all the way up until Doom Eternal, or how they've, maybe in Doom Eternal is a little different, but from the original Doom to all the way up to Doom 3, it was done differently with regards to the map. It's not a bad thing, it's just different. Okay, so based on what it's showing me, um, it is on hard mode. I'm Too Young to Die is normal mode, and Hurt Me Plenty is hard mode, because ultra violence typically means what it means, ultra violence, which is very hard mode. Um, I guess the Heaven and Hell Nightmare mode is going to be like Dante Must Die, and that would be after you beat ultra violence, which is nightmare mode. And then there's ultra nightmare mode, which is a higher mode than the nightmare, which is basically kind of like impossible mode, ultra nightmare. So there's normal, which is Too Young to Die, and then there's Hurt Me Plenty, which is hard, and then there's ultra violence, which is very hard, and then there's nightmare mode, which is I guess you could say super violent or beyond violent. Or what's like very hard mode is like nightmare mode, like very hard. Yeah, very hard, and then there's nightmare. Yeah, so this is ultra violence is basically very hard mode. So this is hard, very hard, and then the next level after that is nightmare mode, which is, and then there's beyond nightmare mode, which is ultra nightmare mode. So yeah, I was right. I'm on hard mode already, which it doesn't feel like hard mode. It feels like easy mode or normal mode. So so if I'm wrong on this, and Hurt Me Plenty is normal mode, then ultra violence is hard mode, which means what comes after ultra violence is nightmare mode is very hard mode. But that doesn't make sense because if something is called nightmare mode, it's not very hard, it's nightmare. So that's why you know what, let me look this up online. Because I need to know the mode that I'm actually in, because it doesn't state it specifically. Okay, so it basically says here under the Doom engine, regards to skills, I'm too young to die, which is considered baby mode or easy mode. Is basically easy mode or baby mode. And then there's yeah, not too rough. There's another mode called yeah, not too rough, and that is also considered normal mode or easy mode. So there's baby mode and then there's easy mode. Apparently I haven't unlocked baby mode because I didn't play I'm Too Young to Die. Um, so I'm Too Young to Die is the easiest mode, which is baby mode. Um, and Hurt Me Plenty comes after that, which is considered normal mode or the default mode. So the default mode of this game is what I'm playing, normal. And ultraviolent is basically hard mode. So I should play ultraviolence because that's hard mode. And of course, nightmare mode is basically ultra hard. Or basically, as is stated, ultra hard in this game is nightmare. So ultra violence does not mean it's ultra hard. It means it's just more violence. It's hard. It's basic hard difficulty, but it's more violence, which means greater number of enemies and stronger enemies. That's all there is. You just get more enemies you have to kill, and they're much stronger. Which means you have to do more bobbing and weaving. So it's basically hard mode, or very hard mode. Alright, so I'm going to switch it to ultraviolent. I don't really need to go beyond hard mode. I'm not trying to prove a point. In fact, I could leave it on Hurt Me Plenty, to be honest with you. So I was right. Unlike, other games that have just one mode and everything is very hard. Like, the game is extremely hard. This game has three, like, three easy modes, and then three very hard modes. Like, very, very hard modes. Ultraviolence is considered about the hardest of the normal modes, and then beyond ultraviolence, which is considered normal. Beyond ultraviolence, which is considered a very hard, is like basically Dark Souls level. Um, Very hard, which means a couple of hits and you're dead. And then there's beyond that, which is beyond nightmare mode, which is the harder than nightmare mode, which is ultra nightmare mode, is kind of like a Dante Must Die. So about 2 hits, maybe 2, possibly 3 hits and you're dead. Maybe just 2 hits and you're dead. 2 or 3 hits and you're dead. So yeah, I would say would be far more difficult than a From Software game, because I don't believe that that's even the case. I believe in Ultra Nightmares, just 2 hits and you're dead. Where in the case of a From Software game, its hardest mode, it's one mode. So if you take 2 hits from a normal enemy, you're still going to live. 2 or 3 hits, you're still going to live, regardless of what level you're at, depending on your strength. You're still going to live. You're not going to open and die, not unless you're just standing still. So if you're standing still, obviously you're going to get die from 3 hits. But if you're moving around, 3 hits is not going to kill you in any From Software game on its hardest mode, which is its default mode. But in this game, it goes beyond Nightmare. So that's the difference between this and the difficulty in like a From Software game. It goes beyond that. So 2 hits and you're probably dead. In fact, I might guess to say in Ultraviolence, if I stand still and one of these regular enemies hit me, I might die in just 3 hits. So the best way to test it is to do it right now. Because if Ultraviolent mode takes 3 hits and I die, then that means Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare, just 1 hit and I'm dead. 1 hit, go to red, next hit, dead. And beyond Ultraviolence. So in those sense, those 2 modes are far harder than anything from Software. But I'm pretty sure everyone already know Dooms can kick it up to beyond any difficulty in any other game. And the best way to do is to test it right now. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to load checkpoint with 100% health. And I'm going to see what that does. Oh, or never mind. It's going to keep me at the 70. See, maybe I could get health back. Alright, so what I'll do is from 70% marker, I'll probably have to test it from 70%, not 100. How much damage from 70% marker will I take from an enemy before I die? So that's what I'm going to do. That's one. That's two. That's three. I think I took more than 3 shots, to be honest with you. I think I took about 4 shots. Let's try that again. That's weird, they just disappeared. Oh, I know why. They didn't exist to begin with. I already killed them from the checkpoint. One, two, three, 4, 5. I think that's 6 hits. I think that was 6 hits. Yeah, that was 6. Let's try. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 hits. 6 hits. So at 70%, 6 hits takes your life. At 73%, 6 hits take your life on ultra violence. Okay, so 6 hits at 70. Or let's round it up. 7 hits at 70. So about 8 to 9 hits. Let's say 10 hits on ultra violence and you're dead. So if I was to go on nightmare mode, that would probably be since 8 hits will probably kill you in ultra violence, 8 or 9 hits. It would probably be a total of 5 hits on nightmare mode. 5 or 6 hits at most on nightmare mode. And ultra nightmare mode, which is higher than nightmare mode, would be probably just 3 hits and you're dead. 3 to 4 hits and you're dead. So compare that to a From Software game of a normal enemy. A normal enemy will hit you like 3 or 4 times and then you're dead. Like if you're standing still, they'll hit you once, twice, 3, 4 times. You were dead if you never leveled up from 0. Or if you leveled up just once. So yeah, Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare mode are on the same level as a From Software game on its default mode, which is basically they don't have any other mode other than their default mode. Their one default mode is Nightmare mode. So yeah, a From Software game is not more difficult than a Doom game, not in a million years. The Nightmare mode and the Ultra Nightmare mode is about the same. That's why when people say now From Software is harder, it really isn't. It's not. Doom's Nightmare mode and Ultra Nightmare is either on the same level or beyond. How I know? I just tested. I'm just on Ultra Violence and 6 hits at 70% kills me. So I'm guessing at 100%, 8, maybe 9 hits will kill me. Chalk that down Nightmare, probably about 5 to 6 hits on Nightmare, and chalk that down to Ultra Nightmare, probably about 3 to 4 hits, which is the same as a normal enemy on From Software at the beginning, first level mode of any From Software game. So yeah, the difficult level are about the same. From Software games are not more harder than Doom game in a million years. They're either on the same level or Doom is just a little bit harder. And just to point it out, I understand the scaling in any From Software game. Doom does the same thing. Enemies scale as you play the level, so I don't pay attention to all that garbage. Yeah, so 10 or 9 hits. 10 or 9 hits means death in Ultra Violence, which is basically hard or very hard mode in this game. And beyond hard mode is the Nightmare mode, which is about the same level of a From Software game. So I'm on very hard or hard mode right now. This game doesn't say very hard. It says baby mode, then it says hurt me plenty, which is basically normal. Then it says ultra violent, which is basically hard or very hard. And then you get into Nightmare mode and beyond Nightmare mode, which is around From Software level difficulty. Or beyond, like beyond Nightmare, which is Ultra Nightmare mode, is harder than From Software difficulty. I say about percentage or 2% more. So yeah, not a single From Software game is more difficult than Doom 2016 and Eternal. If you put Doom on its hardest mode or second to hardest mode, they're about stacked the same. I'm going to be looking at the map a lot because there's collectibles, a lot of collectibles. All these colored ones represents the ones that I've taken. All the ones in white represents the one that I'm not taking. Typically, like I said in games, if it represents white, it means you took it already. But in Doom games, if it represents a certain color, it means you already access it. So the reverse is in effect in this game. There's a good example. It was white the whole time I was running over it. It refused to change color until I access it. Now it changed color to orange, which means I've accessed it. It's a little different from regular other games, but this is Doom, so they don't do things like typical other games. Just to point out, if I'm searching a lot, for anyone who ever watches this video, if it looks like I'm spending a lot of time looking around, it's because this game has tons of collectibles. So this is going to be a very long campaign. That's why for the month of July, it's purely going to be Doom, and the last 2 weeks of, or maybe the last week of July is going to be Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. So 9 to 10 hits means death. As long as I keep that in mind, I'm fine. Never mind. 9 to 10 hits from regular guys means death. If the enemy is stronger than the regular enemies, it means only 3 hits from those big, stronger enemies means death. So I also have to keep that in mind. 9 to 10 hits only means weaklings. Mid-level enemies probably are 3 to 4 hits. Stronger enemies are probably only 2 hits and dead. So, yeah. So I was right. I was right. It is in many cases, harder than From Software games. Because From Software, even though they start you off fighting hard enemies, in Doom game they throw a lot of hard different type of enemies altogether. The same as From Software games, but the difference is you're more likely to die from 3 hits with an enemy demon that's crowded together with weaklings than in a From Software for a single enemy that's strong. It feels, yeah, that that was a quick death. That was quicker than any death that I did in any From Software game from a difficult enemy. 3 hits and I was dead from his attacks. Three hits my ass, 2 hits and already in the red. Kiss my ass with that From Software shit. That dude only hit me twice and already red. Holy shit. And you run out of bullets too. Another thing that's different from Software games. In From Software games, when your weapon you're hitting an enemy, it takes a very long time for your weapon to become unusable. In this game, if you run out of bullets, you run out of bullets quick. So yeah, people don't know shit when they're talking about From Software games harder than Doom. Not a single thing. And there's another thing why it's difficult. Doom Guy's weapons are based on charge effects and ammo. His pistol, if it's not charged fast enough, it don't fire fast enough, which you have to upgrade. And if you run in this game, you run out of ammo quick, so you have to know how to conserve ammo. Another difficult thing. that's far beyond that of a From Software game. You have to pay attention to your ammo and recharge capabilities. You gotta be shitting me. There was someone behind me. There was someone behind me. Okay. I foresee many deaths on ultraviolence. Many deaths. Wow. Wow. Oh yeah. Doom don't fuck around. Uh-uh. Nope. And this is just the first level. This is not even level 2. This is just like the beginning of the game. Forget that 10 hit from random enemy shit. You're like 2 hits from one of these dudes, you're instantly dead. Play smarter, play smarter. Must play smarter. I'll use the small weapon for smaller enemies and big boy caprice for stronger enemies.
Welcome to the UAC. Now 221 accident-free days. God rested on the seventh day, but imagine how much further along we would be if we hadn't. The UAC is committed to excellence. That's why we implemented the 7-day work week. Now you can achieve greatness alongside your coworkers every day. Let's never stop achieving.
Hello, I am Vega, the sentient intelligence assigned to Mars. After running diagnostics on the Praetor suit, it appears that I can activate optional challenges that, when completed, will assist in upgrading your arsenal at an accelerated pace. I have added a tracking component to your dossier.
Main power offline. All entrances. Is not operational. Main power offline. All entrances 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 not operational. offline. All entrances not operational. Main power offline. All entrances not operational. Main power offline. All entrances not operational. Main power online.
I believe in honesty, especially now, in what will be your final moments in this world. All the rumors, the human sacrifices, the hell portal, the demons. It's all true. My sisters and brothers, be thankful. You will be the first. You will have a seat alongside them, just as I will, in what will become the new world that they create for us. Starting now. I believe in honesty, especially now, in what will be your final moments in this world. All the rumors, the human sacrifices, the hell portal, the demons. It's all true. My sisters and brothers, be thankful. You will be the first. You will have a seat along. I believe in honesty, especially now, in what will be your final moments in this world. It's true. My sisters and brothers, be thankful. You will have a seat around, just as I will, in what will become the new world that they create for us. Starting now. Especially now, in what will be your final moments in this world. All the rumors, the human sacrifice, the demons. It's true. My sisters and brothers, be thankful. First, you will have a seat alongside them, just as I will. They create for us. Starting. Especially now, in what will be your final moments in this world. All the rumors, The human sacrifices.
There's no fall damage. There's no fall damage, but there's falling to your death. At least it has that in there. But it makes sense. The Doom guy is super strong, and he has a strong predator resistance to fall. But, you know, he can't resist falling into the nothingness.
I believe in honesty, especially now. And what will be your final moments in this life? Sisters and brothers, we thank you. You will be the first. You will be the people alongside them, just as I am. The new world they created for us. Especially now. It's true. My sisters and brothers, be thankful.
So I wasn't supposed to go up there anyway, because it's not like there's something up there to get. So I'm pretty sure there's something up there. Why it would be there? Probably just armor and more health, but not. It's not a key item or collectible, so not worried about it.
As I will in what will become the new world that they create for us. Starting now.
Demonic presence at unsafe levels. Lockdown in effect. Demonic presence at unsafe levels. Lockdown in effect. Demonic presence eliminated. Lockdown disengaged.
Alright, so we'll get to the next checkpoint and probably call it a day. It's already been like 2 hours on this. Good so far. Enemies, difficulty, the difficulty level, very good. I'm at a 7.5 right now with regards to the game for everything I saw from the beginning. The animation, the visual effects, the lighting, customization of weapons, sound effects, the badassery, and of course it's FPS.
Here at the UAC, we take pride in nurturing a growing workforce, and each year we harvest only the best of the best. Are you ready to move up? To take on new challenges? To become more than you ever dreamed you could be? Talk to your supervisor to see if you meet the requirements for this year's Soul Harvest. UAC. The world is counting on us. How committed are you? Here at the UAC, we take pride in nurturing a growing workforce, and each year we harvest only the best of the best. Are you ready to move up? To take on new challenges? To become more than you ever dreamed you could be? Talk to your supervisor to see if you meet the requirements for this year's Soul Harvest. UAC. The world is counting on us. How committed are you? Here at the UAC, we take pride in nurturing a workforce, and each year we harvest only the best of the best. Are you ready to move up? To take on new challenges? To become more than you ever dreamed you could be? Talk to your supervisor to see if you...
Yeah, I think I'll stop it right here. Either here or the next area. It's been like 2 hours already. Or around 2 hours.
Access denied. Yellow security clearance required. Access denied. Yellow security clearance required.
Yeah, I'll stop it right here. So tomorrow I'll continue Doom and make sure I got do stuff around the house. And then I'll jump onto Warframe later on today. So typically for the month of July it's just going to be Warframe, Doom, and I guess the last week of July is going to be Deus Ex.